All right, this is Eric with Curated Overland. Today we're talking with Jeff, who has a 2001 Ford E350 Super Duty extended wheelbase two-wheel drive, XLT trimmed car for sale. That might be the longest title we've had thus far. Some basics on this car. It's got 95,000 miles, and it is the venerable Triton V10 6.8 liter gasoline engine in it, and it is for sale in Birmingham, Alabama. So Jeff, thank you for taking a couple of minutes here. Why don't we just start with how long have you had it? And if you wouldn't mind, just there's a fair amount of stuff that you've done to this truck, but just let us know a little bit how long you had it and maybe your ownership experience and some of the stuff you've done.
Sure. Yeah. It's we've had the car or truck van vehicle for just a little over 5 years now. So we had kind of come out of the land of Land Cruisers. We had couple hundred series Land Cruisers, couple 80s, and we were we were doing a lot of kind of road tripping as a family. And as great of a vehicle as it was, it's not the best tow vehicle. And so we were looking for something that we could use as a tow vehicle, but also just kind of like as a kind of a home base for all of our family adventures. And so we just started looking into kind of the different van platforms, and were initially drawn to the even more famous 7.3 liter diesel engine in the vans that you can
Hmm.
find. They're hard to find, but as we were looking and struggling to find one, we found that the V10 was honestly a lot more kind of economically priced as a vehicle, but also had just about the same kind of tow capacity
Hmm.
that the 7.3 does. And so we started looking for V10s, and we found this one. It was a kind of a church van in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So it was really low miles. Only had like 71,000 miles on it. So we, yeah, drove up there and got it, and just began the process of kind of turning it from something that was kind of hauling, it looks like mostly adults, back and forth to church, to something that we would be able to kind of take on adventures across the country.
I would love to go to the church that has the look and feel of your van as it sits today. So I'd love that. I think that would be awesome. That would be a church I could
Yeah.
I could get involved in. But why don't we so why don't we get into it? I don't know if we want to go from outside to in or inside to out, but just give me an up. I'm fine with either, but give me an update on some of the things that you've updated on the car, truck, van vehicle
Yeah.
over the last 5 years, give or take.
Sure. So we wanted something that would basically be incredibly functional, but also would, look kind of pretty badass along the way. And so we and I wasn't planning on painting it initially, but the church letters were had roached the paint all the way to the bare metal, and so we ended up deciding to use the Raptor liner. And just being kind of an anal person, I did not want to see mismatched door jambs every time I opened the car. And so ended up doing color matched Raptor liner, which was I'm really, really happy with. It's been incredibly durable, works really well, but also is very forgiving for applying yourself,
Mhm.
a lot more so than regular paint finishes. So kind of finished the van out in the Raptor liner, added some aesthetic things like, the fender flares, and needed running boards after we lift it, just to be able to kind of get in and out of it. And then, yeah, went backwards from like the TV screen looking headlights to the projector LEDs, and the upgraded grill. Um, yeah, kept everything, got everything kind of tinted, and kept the temperature kind of under control with that. There's a lot of windows in it.
Mhm.
And we specifically went with a passenger van because we liked the feel of that better, and we weren't going to do a camper in the back since we towed a camper with it.
Mm.
Um, and we wanted to keep, even kind of, I guess, moving into the interior, we wanted to keep kind of the way that was set up as very, very flexible. So built a floor out of 3/4 inch plywood, and then put heavy duty kind of airline grade L track
Yep.
running up and down the middle. Um, and just because bench seats aren't especially safe, and we were doing a lot of traveling with kids and stuff, installed uh, the 3 seat row out of kind of Ford Transit. They were takeouts. Interesting fact, they were actually originally in prison vans,
Oh,
and
no
so
kidding.
they have to take out the row of three to put the partition in to protect the drivers.
Interesting.
Um, and so yeah, so I found three of those, and then just kind of had to create and weld brackets for those so that they would be able to mount into the L track, and set up the front row in a way that it could be flipped 180 degrees and be rear facing and still kind of bolt in,
Yeah. Yeah.
which was kind of a fun addition. It made for a lot of kind of fun trips because when we were on what we called road trip mode, we literally had the back of it set up like a restaurant booth with a table and everything.
No, that's awesome. I thought for those of you listening that haven't used L-Track in the past, it's like the most magic um, functional thing that you can get in a van. I have a Sprinter van myself, and I have L-Track
Oh,
all over
nice.
the place, and it's just absolutely a game changer in terms of flexibility and things you can do. So yeah, it really makes for the inside of that pretty neat. I like the idea of your road trip mode as well. So very cool, very cool. Um, and you said you did not set up a bed in it. You carried a camper, but if I remember right, you have materials and it's kind of ready to go for the next owner should they want to set up a bed in the back of that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was kind of as we kind of drove it, used it, we were always kind of thinking of like what else could we do? And we didn't tow a huge camper with it, and so we had talked about building a bed platform in the back that would allow us to just still kind of plug up to like a pedestal if we were at an RV park or something like that, and run a AC, like a portable AC on the inside. So there is just a short run of shore power in the bumper that connects to the rear. And then I had seen a lot of people in the Sprinters that had built bed platforms using a kind of an extending bed support from IKEA. And so I have three of these kind of expandable center bed
Oh yeah.
supports
Uh-huh.
that are from like just an IKEA bed, and then I have like some bracketry that I would I was planning on kind of just installing rib nuts in the body and then having these kind of slim brackets that went up the sides, and then those bed rails would just kind of clip into that, and then you
Yep.
could spread a platform and a mattress out over that. I wanted something that wouldn't kind of stay in there, but would be really easy to set up and kind of tear down.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
so, and that's
Yeah.
one thing, even with that, like, I mean, I can in a pretty short amount of time have all three rows of seats out and have a monstrous kind of space in the back for Home Depot runs, or
Right.
moving an office or anything like that, and then
Totally.
have any seating configuration I want.
Yep. Yep. Great. Awesome. Okay, good. And then let's move to mechanical and some of the things that you did to it, both in terms of just maintenance as well as any changes to the vehicle on the outside of it anyway.
Okay. Yeah, like one of the things we priced out kind of converting to four-wheel drive, and it just ended up being kind of unobtainium cost wise. And so
Yeah.
we did decide to go with a Weldtech Baja grocery getter. They list it as a 6-inch lift. It's really closer to five, but it's a sizable lift. And so and it's a pretty extensive suspension kind of reconfiguration. It takes the existing kind of radius arm and trailing arm setup and works with kind of custom trailing arms, and then they actually extend the factory radius arms to
Oh,
keep the
good.
geometry correct.
Perfect.
So we did kind of splurge for that extra on with just the standard lift, and it's got custom valved Fox shocks. So that was a big change. But then while I had the whole front end kind of apart, I decided to upgrade the front brakes to the larger kind of diameter rotors and the bigger calipers from the '08 and forward vans.
Hmm.
Um, so all the parts for that were either just new or remanufactured extended brake lines. And so basically the front end of it has kind of the stopping power of the later vans. And I felt like just whether it was towing or just even just hauling my family cargo, I wanted to have the stopping power be as much as it could be.
Totally.
Um, yeah, and then there was just it was low miles, so there wasn't a lot that was needed. But when I redid the brakes, I did a new master cylinder, a new brake booster,
Mm,
um, complete fluid flushes with that coolant. So and yeah,
perfect.
you'll see in the list there was a lot of stuff that was kind of replaced in the first couple years
Yep.
of ownership, just getting it like roadworthy.
That's great. That's great. All right, good. Um, the last thing I guess I'll ask is, sounds like you did some pretty fun things in it. What's one of your most memorable things you did in the van?
I mean, we're living in Alabama right now. We've taken it out to California,
Oh,
which
awesome.
spent some time in SoCal, which was really really fun. Probably our best memory was actually going up through South Dakota and Wyoming. We spent a fair amount of time in the Badlands and the Black
Oh,
Hills,
cool.
which was just a lot of fun. Um, but
I've
yeah, so
never
we've
been up there.
I
I
mean,
hear that's the place to go. So that's a conversation for another time. But
yeah.
yeah, everyone says go up there. So all right, well, you're yet again another person that says it. That's great. And I guess lastly, you put a lot of um, time and energy and good memories in it. How come you're selling it at this point?
Yeah, no, that's it's a great question, and I know it's gonna break my heart to see it go, but part of it is just my kids are just getting a lot older. I've got one that's gonna be starting college next year, and with kind of high school jobs and sports and activities and all that stuff, it just gets harder to find 3 weeks of the year to just take off and explore. And
Yeah.
so
Yep.
honestly, the van is just it's just not getting the use anymore that we
Yeah.
were getting out of it when they were younger.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling. So, okay. All right. All right. Well, Jeff, thank you for taking the time. For those that have listened, thank you. And there's a heck of a lot more details on the site here that you can get everything that Jeff put into this thing. There's a ton of great pictures. And lastly, Jeff also did a lot of videos as well that we have up of the interior, exterior, and even any small little blemishes that exist on the van. So anyway, check those out. And Jeff, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Check out this vehicle and many more at curatedOverland.com.